So Lieutenant Colonel Cole, as a co-pilot for General Doolittle, then Lieutenant Colonel Doolittle, what did you do when the order came to man your plane?
I didn't hear.
Well, I have to tell you that all of us who flew B-25s during World War II left their hearing in that airplane.
What did you do when the old man said, they said, man your airplane? What did you do?
Actually, I was
Yeah, that's good.
I was en route to breakfast, and when they announced it on the PA system that Army pilots man your plane, I had to change the plan because I wanted to get to the airplane before Colonel Doolittle, and as luck would have it, I did, and I got in the airplane and went through the checklist and did as much as I could so that it would even up things that he wouldn't have to do or ask when he got there.
Alrighty, Tom Griffin? While the training was going on at Eglin, you and General Jones, then Captain Jones, made a trip to Washington to get maps. Please describe what you did.
Well, we were told about the first week in February when we were down there in Florida, the two of us were to go up to Washington, D.C. and work with Air Force intelligence to get together the maps and charts of Japan that we were going to need for 20 crews. And also, we had to know the exact location of military and industrial potential targets in the Japanese islands that we could assign crews to bomb. And we went up there and worked in Washington, D.C., I think for about 10 days, didn't we, Davey? To get together this stuff. 5 days. And we got together all this information to equip 20 crews, graded it up, and of course, when we got on the carrier in San Francisco, some weeks later, all of that information was used daily to tell the crews where they were going, what they were going to bomb, and so forth. Okay.
Hey, Jones, since you were the other co-conspirator there, it gave you some clues about what your mission might be. Did you have any clues that you were going to actually take off from a carrier to do and bomb the targets that you were picking out on those maps?
Yeah, I think it was pretty obvious by that time that when we got to Eglin, well, first, when the old man briefed everyone, he said it involved action against an enemy capital that had not been bombed. Well, of course, that's pretty obvious right then because we all know people had been to Berlin. So that didn't leave too many other places. And then the Navy, when Hank Miller showed up and talked about carrier operations, that sort of started focalizing. And then by the time we got around to looking at maps and targets, we pretty well knew that we were where we were bound.
What precautions did the old man give you about talking about when you came back from Washington?
I don't recall anything particular. In fact, we only saw him a couple of 3 times while we were in England. He's around the country taking care of everything else. No, I think we were all pretty well aware of the fact that we were doing something pretty sensitive, and we didn't blab much about it. Mm-hmm. Before we go any further, I want to tell a little story.
Okay.
It's all been pretty formal, we know. This has to do with what Dr. Mondell reminded me of. He was wartime relationship with, or right after the war with Werner. I was assigned to NASA at one point in time. In fact, I worked at FOB 6 down here for 4 years in NASA headquarters during the Gemini and Apollo program. And Werner, of course, was running Huntsville, the center, and had responsibility for all of the propulsion. Another German scientist, of course, Dr. Davis, had all of the launch facilities at the Cape. And many, many meetings in Washington with all the center directors and program people and so on. And Werner, of course, is a big chief in the propulsion. And all of these center directors were pretty highly skilled and very proprietary people. And in the headquarters, we were obviously not necessary as far as they're concerned. But at any rate, I was dispatched from time to time to confer with center directors. And on one occasion, I can't reason why, but I was told to get a hold of Werner and talk about whatever the problem was on cooperation and propulsion. I finally found him here in New York City in the hotel, not this hotel. So I appeared with and gave him the message from the headquarters, and we had some discussion. And he said, ended up the conversation, "God damn, Davy, you guys treat us like unpressed peasants. Goodbye." End of story. He was a great guy. Okay, we're back to
I should tell you that when Davy Jones was a prisoner of war of Germans, he was known as Tokyo Jones because Jones is a fairly common name, but everybody knew who Tokyo Jones was. Well, I don't know whether any of you have ever read about or heard about the famous tunnels that the prisoners were digging. 3 tunnels, Tom, Dick, and Harry, they called it. Davy Jones was one of the diggers. And if you can imagine a fellow as big as he was digging a hole, I guess everybody else could follow if they could get all the way through. But now, Tom Griffin, you helped in some way. What did you do in prison camp while these guys were digging?
I did a very little of that digging. That was not a very enjoyable job, I'll tell you. Davy Jones did a great deal of it, and I had a great deal of respect for him because that was go down 30 feet and out maybe 300 feet digging. There's no way to earn a living, I'll tell you. I got the job after I was there a few months of disposal of secret material that came into our camp. We had equipped certain people all through the armed services with aliases, just in case a certain number of them were going to be prisoners of war at one time or another. And in our camp, in our lager, we had at least 4 that I knew of that got these coded letters from the States, maybe from their Aunt Tilly from Kokomo, and in that letter they were able to get certain information, sometimes telling them to for our boys to watch for certain packages that were coming through the German lager. And in those packages there would be maps, money, and other information for us. And that sort of thing went on during the months we were there in prison camp.